All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Mike, and today for episode 42, we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 66, and I am joined by my guy, Wiz Betts. What's up, brother? Thank you for coming on, man. How are you? You hyped for this card at all?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, and we talked about this a little bit off the air. I've been prepping for this card for a while. So this is all coming off of the dome. No notes, no nothing. I'm super hyped for this card. It's stacked, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on a lot of spots.
Yeah, I've already got a bunch of plays, like I mentioned also before we hopped on. And yeah, I'm hyped to get into it. Before we go on, though, I do owe a shoey. I made a bet with Johnny from Johnny Picks, and I'm an idiot. I'll admit it. I'm an idiot. Not only did I put money on Deron Till, but I also agreed to do a shoey bet for Deron Till. So I deserve this. Now, I was telling Wiz as well, I'm celiac. I can't drink beer, and I wasn't about to go get some gluten-free beer. So going to do a seltzer, a hard seltzer. May not go great. The last time I saw someone do this, it didn't go fantastic, but hopefully it'll go a little better. And yeah, fuck you, Deron Till. That's all I could really say. He's going to be doing a dress shoe because I didn't want to fuck up any of my sneakers.
Oh, the shoey. It's beautiful.
Have you done one yet, Wiz?
I've done one, and it was early on in my MMA Twitter journey, and I think I did this on purpose.
You just wanted to do a shoey?
I don't know what was in my head. I went against
Dan
from Best Fight Picks. What was the fight? It was Dan Hooker against Arnold Allen. I bet Arnold Allen, but I told him I'll do a shoey if Arnold Allen wins.
Why would you do? You literally wanted it. But all right, it's already leaking out of my shoe. Here we go, guys. I'm more than likely going to have to change my shirt after this. So here goes nothing. And once again, fuck you, Deron Till.
Cheers, brother. Like a champ.
Mama didn't raise no bitch. All right, that wasn't as bad as I thought. I'll have another one without the shoe as we go on. But all right, now that that's out of the way, let's say hi to the rest of the chat real quick. I already said what up to Daz, Chronic Combat in the chat. Make sure to follow them, guys. Always dropping good breakdowns. Prince of Mischief. What's up, Charles Jourdain? Yes, it was Deron Till, but thank you for tuning in, man. Plays and fades. Let's go. Yes, sir. Let's go. But all right, we'll hop right into it. We've got the first fight of the night, and it just so happens to be my biggest bet of the night. So we've got Sergey Morozov versus Newson. Morozov is 18-5-0, 33 years old. He's 5'6" with a 67-inch reach, and he's training out of American Top Team as far as I know. Newson on the other side is 10-3-0, 33 years old as well. 5'5", he's 1 inch shorter, 67.5-inch reach. Let's call it a 1 inch reach advantage, and he's training out of Impact Jiu-Jitsu. Wiz, why don't you start us off?
Sure, yeah, and I think we share similar views on this fight, just based off of your tweets earlier on in the week. I think Morozov runs away with this one, but better power, striking output is leaning towards Newson. But my issue with Newson is he has no striking defense. I tend to just see openings left and right in his game that I think Morozov can capitalize on with his hooks, and that's one of his strongest shots. I think Morozov is able to employ the wrestling game here too. I think he's smart. If he wants to take the least amount of damage, take the guy down, hold him down, ground and pound over and over again, 3 rounds, and just cruise to a decision. Now, the fear for me and why I didn't go a little bit heavier on this is because Morozov has been hit and he has been dropped 3 times in the 4 fights that he has in the UFC. So it's definitely a concern. His chin is a concern. It's a liability. Do I want to lay more on someone who has those chin issues? Probably not, but I do think that he handedly wins this matchup. I have him parlayed with a fight coming up soon.
Yeah, man. So, like you mentioned, I'm 100% on Morozov. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is the chin, like you mentioned, because that's what I've been hearing. Someone commented on my thing, on my post. They're like, "Are you sure you want to be so heavy on someone like who has like a completely cracked chin?" And then like I just looked it up just to make sure I wasn't going crazy, and I was like, "All right, he's been knocked down in one UFC fight. He's been knocked out one time in I think 24 fights. Like, sure, we've seen him wobbled and hurt." But to say he's got a completely cracked chin when he's been not, yeah, he got knocked down 3 times in 4 fights, but that was all one fight with Andrade, you know? So I don't necessarily think he's got a cracked chin. Maybe something's there, but so far it hasn't stopped him much. One knockout loss. So I'm not that worried about that. And I just think, like you said, skill for skill, it's Morozov all day. Like I saw some people say maybe that Journey is a better striker. I strongly disagree there, honestly. I feel like Morozov has shown that he's a good striker. He was able to strike with Rui and Paiva. I mean, like most of his strikes were at distance. It's not like he got those 66, 68 significant strikes on the ground. It was standing. Against Khalid Taha, I remember everyone thought he would have to wrestle. He looked great on the feet. He mixed in the wrestling too. Same story with Andrade till he got hurt. Like he was bopping him on the feet. So I do think that Morozov is a better striker. And then the grappling, I don't think there's much of an argument to be made. I think it's definitely Morozov. So, yeah, I ended up kind of dropping a hammer. I played him early at minus 220 at open for 2.2 units. And then earlier this week, I played him at minus 240 for another 3 units. And I parlayed him with someone we'll talk about soon for another unit. So the total stake is 6.2 for me. And yeah, I just think he's better everywhere. Unless he somehow gets cracked like everyone's saying, I think it's Morozov here.
On the same spot. Let's do this.
Yes, sir. Hopefully we start disagreeing, though. That's way more fun. Next up, we've got a dog I'm considering. We got David Dvorak versus Manel Kape. Dvorak is 24-0. He's 30 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. He's training out of All Sports Academy. And then Kape on the other side, he's 17-6-0, 29 years old. He's 1 year younger, 5'5". They're the same height, same reach at 68-inch reach, and he's training out of AKA. So I'll start this one. And yeah, I went into this one. I saw the odds. I was like, all right, I'm looking for a reason to bet Dvorak. I know off the top of my head, he's been really good. He beat Bruno Silva on his debut. I think super highly of Bruno Silva. I know not many people do, but I think he's really good. Just a little undersized even for 125. But I thought he's been very impressive. And then I ran back the Nicolau fight, and that's kind of what like made me slow my roll, because his striking is very loopy. He works off of the loopy strikes. He'll close the distance, and everything's just loopy, loopy, loopy. Kape throws straight. His hands are extremely fast. And like I feel like if Dvorak comes in there like he was coming in against Nicolau, he got cracked in that fight. I think he's going to get knocked out in this one if he does that. So because of that, I'm very hesitant. Now, people have been talking about wrestling also, who might be wrestling here. Everybody's saying it would be Kape, if anything, just because we haven't seen it from Dvorak. But you look at his record, he's got 8 submission wins. And his fight before the UFC, that's how he won. He won via grappling. It was pretty good. It wasn't elite wrestling, not by any means. He has shot in the UFC. He couldn't get it. I just think that if someone does have some kind of grappling up their sleeve, it's going to be Dvorak. I'm still tempted. I'm tempted to do like a half unit shot at plus 200, just because if he doesn't get cracked, you know, Manel Kape does start slow. He does tend to give rounds away, even though when he shouldn't be. He was beating Nicolau, in my opinion, and he kind of just gave the fight over to him for no reason. So I think Kape wins. Do I want to touch this price tag? No. I wanted to take dog shot, but I'm probably just going to sit it out. How about you, Wiz?
Yeah, so this is the second leg and the final leg to the parlay with Morozov for me. I'm taking Manel Kape. I understand the love for Dvorak, especially at the price tag. But when you run back that Nicolau fight, it's just a massacre on the feet. And I'm not saying Nicolau is a bad striker at all. I commend his striking, great accuracy. The guy has no power. If you're getting wobbled by Nicolau, you either have a really bad chin or he just touched you up way too much. And it was a combination of both for that fight. So what happens if Manel Kape actually presses on the gas here in that first round? I think he knocks him out pretty handedly. Dvorak's striking defense is just something that worries me for those who are on him. I get it. Manel Kape does tend to give away rounds, I believe he just switched to Extreme Couture as of a couple of fights ago. So he's probably honing in on those skills and training with all those killers at Extreme Couture. I don't bet against guys that go to that gym all that often. So I'm on Kape here. I think he's able to get him out in the first round, if anything. And yeah, I think the price tag is a little bit overpriced, but to be honest, in this spot, I don't see why I don't take Manel Kape here. So I'm on him. I think he does have the wrestling advantage for the sole fact that he used to wrestle in college, and I just don't see that. I don't see him needing to use it though. That's the thing. He hasn't needed to use it in the UFC.
What do you think of the KO prop?
The KO prop is interesting. Yeah, I do like
the price kind of sucks, honestly, but that's what's tempting me a little.
Yeah, the price does suck. I probably wouldn't want to play a lot like on a standalone play. I'd probably parlay it with something too, just to get more value. But I just went the safe route, parlay the money lines myself with Kape and Morozov.
Yeah, I can't blame you. I don't think I'm gonna end up playing that dog just because of the reasons we mentioned, and I do think he's probably gonna get chinned at some point. So we'll move on to the next one, and I've got a fairly strong take on this one, and I've seen a lot of different opinions. So we've got Bryan Battle versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. Battle is 8-1-0, 28 years old. He's 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, and he trains out of Hayastan MMA. Fakhretdinov, he's 22-0, 31 years old, 6 feet tall. He's 1 inch shorter, 74-inch reach. He's got a 3-inch reach disadvantage. And I believe he's at, it says Evolve Gym now. I know he spent some time at American Top Team as well. But Wiz, why don't you start us off, brother?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I think Bryan Battle is starting to hone in on his skills. I like his length. He uses it to his advantage, but I think the guy's still pretty green. He's still pretty hittable, and he has great get-up game. I must say that before I get into Fakhretdinov. His get-up game is pretty solid, especially with his height here, but he hasn't really impressed me per se. I know that last fight, the flash head kick knockout, probably is what dropped this line so much on Fakhretdinov. Recency bias at its finest. I can't get away from this Fakhretdinov line, dude. The amount of control time this guy has and the efficiency at the way he lands these takedowns, it's undeniable. He's able to get takedowns at will. And against someone like Battle, who he gave up 2 takedowns to Tresean Gore, who's not even the best wrestler. What is he going to do against Fakhretdinov? So I think Fakhretdinov is able to take Bryan Battle down at will. He might be able to get up the first couple of times, but as this fight progresses, I think it's a lot harder, especially with fatigue and especially initiating these wrestling exchanges. It's going to take the gas out of Battle, and we've seen him gassed out a little bit, especially in the Tough House. I've watched that season in depth, and I'm on Fakhretdinov here for 2 units. I think he's going to be able to wrestle him at will. I think his ground and pound is going to land. And he said it himself. He wasn't impressed with his last fight because he didn't finish the guy. He wasn't as aggressive. He was just laying and praying, which I tend to agree. So if he's coming out here aggressive, I think he's able to take Bryan Battle out late 3rd round.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing here. I'm on Fakhretdinov as well. And to me, it's just like, I don't really understand why people want to fade him so hard here. I get why maybe he's a fade down the road. We haven't seen much of his striking. What happens if he can't get it off? But he has to get somebody who's actually going to defend it. Like you mentioned, 2 takedowns by Gore. He got taken down by Urbina twice. He got taken down by Petrosky in the semifinals. In the finals. So he can get taken down. Yeah, those guys couldn't hold him down, but those guys are not Rinat Fakhretdinov. I mean, there's a tremendous difference, a very, very big difference. In terms of Fakhretdinov's striking, we don't know much. We've seen just pretty much his jab, really, and then he just closes in and gets the takedown. Normally, I wouldn't love that. I just feel like it doesn't matter here. I just really, really don't think it matters. I think he's, like you said, he's going to take Battle down at will. I don't even care if he gets a finish or not. Boring doesn't matter to me if I'm betting on it. Boring sucks if I'm watching as a fan, but if I've got money on it, I'd rather he's boring and safe. So I like Fakhretdinov as well. I played him early at minus 150 for 1.5 units, and then he was at minus 125, so I dropped another 2 units because I thought that was ridiculous. He was minus 115 at one point.
Yeah, you're giving me an even line, almost not going to say near even, but minus 120, 125 on someone who is an elite wrestler against someone who gets taken down. I'm going to have to take it. It's just a given at that point. And what's helping is that this is going to be at the Apex, so
smaller cage. Yep, good point. That's a good point. But all right, same side again. Hopefully we get maybe here. This is a good one to disagree about. We've got Maheshate versus Rafa Garcia. Maheshate's 9-1-0, 23 years old, 6 feet tall at the 72-inch reach, training out of, is it Enbo? Do you know any better, Wiz?
It's, to my knowledge, it's still Enbo.
Word. And then Garcia, 14-3-0, 28 years old. He's 5 years older, 5'7". He is 5 inches shorter, 68-inch reach. He's got a 4-inch reach disadvantage. And I know he spent some time at elevation. I'm pretty sure he's at pound for pound Muay Thai as well up there in Colorado. But I think it's my turn. And yeah, I played Garcia. For, I guess, a similar reason to the last fight. I mean, it's not like a high-level Russian wrestler, but I am banking on Garcia's wrestling to kind of win this fight. I do think he's going to get Maheshate down. We haven't really seen Maheshate tested in the UFC or on the Contender Series in terms of takedown defense. What I will say, though, on the Contender Series, he fought Extremadura, and he got credited, like, there was no takedowns attempted according to the stats. I disagree. I think Extremadura did try to take him down like 3 times against the fence, and he didn't let it happen. Maybe he just didn't let it even get close, so they didn't count it. But I would credit that for Maheshate. He has shown decent takedown defense. In the regionals, I've seen him get taken down, but not too much. We have only like his oldest tape also. Got to mention that. And yeah, we're working with very little information. I'm not taking much from his last fight where he just creamed what's-his-face. Like the guy came running right into it, like just head up. Steven Garcia, right? Just had his head up high, ran right into the strikes. Like, I mean, good on Maheshate for knocking him out and taking the money home, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, all right, he's him. Like, I don't know about that just yet. I think that Maheshate is a good striker. He's shown a lot of good stuff, good counter striking, jabs good, nice head kick. Output's not insane though. And I wouldn't say he does anything incredibly well. You're a striker, Wiz, so I'm hyped to hear you talk about it. But with my eyes, my casual eyes, not much that I'm loving. Garcia, though, he's not better, in my opinion. He's not a better striker. I think, if anything, Maheshate's got the striking edge here. Garcia gets a bit loopy. That's what I hate. I don't like backing guys when they're throwing a lot of loopy shit against a guy who's going to throw 1-2s down the pipe and just knock them all day long. I just think the wrestling is going to work here. I do. His wrestling is very solid. He's done it against good opponents. Even the Dvorak Close fight, like Close won that fight clearly, but it was close. In my opinion, it was one of those close fights where Dvorak Close won every round, but each round was close, in my opinion. So I thought that was impressive. He's got 8 submission wins on his record. Not much of a striker, like we said, only 1 knockout. Never been knocked out himself, though. I just think that Maheshate is not tested enough for this kind of fight just yet. Minus 127, I thought was a fair price. Played it for 1.27 units to win one. What are you thinking, Wiz?
I thought you said we were going to disagree.
I said maybe.
You know, this fight is going to be a very similar breakdown to the last one, but I'm going to start with Maheshate here. I like his striking. Very straight shots down the pipe. Looks like the kid has some power. He uses his natural gifts to his advantage with the length. But I tried fading him in his first fight due to the same reasons. I thought Steve Garcia was going to try and take him down, but no. He tried to strike with him. And then he looked like absolute ass. But then Steve Garcia comes and fucks me again against I'm not even going to talk about it. That hurt.
I cashed there at least.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. But in this fight, I think Rafa Garcia is someone who actually uses the wrestling to his advantage, and he uses it a lot. I think he can get a sub out in this fight pretty often. I think round 2 sub. is something that I'm going to look at for a round prop just to see what that price is. I think Garcia is going to be able to out volume him just based off of the ground and pound strikes. And from there, we'll have to see if the submission opens up, because this kid, Maheshate, yeah, he might have the great striking, but has never shown the takedown defense. And usually when we see this coming into the UFC, someone who's so green, who's only had one fight in the UFC, going against someone who has multiple, it's a rude awakening. It's a vet lesson. And Rafa Garcia, I keep getting the names mixed up because they both fought this, they're about to fight this dude. Rafa Garcia is going to be able to take him down at will. Now, my issue with Garcia early on in his career was his gas tank. He then went to elevation. He fixed that up. His gas tank is a lot better now. It's still not perfect. So my fear is if it gets into the third round, this guy's completely out of there, like gassed, and Maheshate is able to just land on him at will and knock him out. That's my only fear. But again, at such a good price, minus 125, I had to take it. I got it to win to 1.5 units. And yeah, give me Rafa Garcia. It's going to be a very early night for me.
So I didn't even think about it till you said it. Garcia's sub is plus 550 on Bet Online. It's pretty good.
Very fair price.
What catches my eye, see, I'm a sicko, and I have this angle that I've been playing out that has been working decent, where if I have a guy who's a good wrestler, mostly gets submissions, not KOs, if there's a big difference between the sub and the KO prop, I'll just play the KO. Because, how many times have we seen people take someone's back, start hitting them in the head, try and get the rear naked, and then they don't have to get the rear naked. They just keep going, and the ref calls the fight off. We see that kind of stuff time and time again. They go for a choke. They're able to get into full mount. They don't need the choke anymore. They finish the fight. So I'm kind of tempted to sprinkle Rafa Garcia KO at plus 1,200. I bet FanDuel will give me something even crazier. So maybe that'll be my crazy prop of the night. We'll see.
But I don't blame you at all. And one last point here. When you're going from fighting Drakkar Klose to Maheshate, levels.
Yeah.
There's levels. Drakkar Klose is no bum.
No, but he would cream Maheshate. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? It would be terrible. But all right. Still agreement so far. Here's another close fight. Let's see what happens. So I didn't even realize, but we have two guys on this card who have made appearances on the Couch Warrior podcast. We're about to talk about the first one, and then we got another guy coming up later, which is pretty cool. We got both of them on one card. So for this fight, we've got Said Nurmagomedov versus Saidyokub Kakhramonov. Nurmagomedov is 16-2-0, 30 years old, 5'8" with the 70-inch reach, and he's training out of, let's see, he's actually at Extreme Couture now, which is pretty cool. Saidyokub Kakhramonov, he's 10-2-0, 27 years old. He's 3 years younger, 5'8". They're the same height, 69-inch reach, 1-inch reach disadvantage. And Saidyokub is training out of Warrior Camp over with Terrence McKinney. They're buddies, training partners. So, Wiz, I believe it's your turn. Why don't you start us off?
All right, let's do this. This probably will be the fight we disagree on, but just putting it out there, I will have no positions on this fight. I will say from now, and if I do on Saturday, if you see it on my Bet MMA, please punch me in the head, because this is such a close fight. This is a fight at this price where you don't want to touch either fighter. I get it. If you got Kakhramonov plus 110, 115, I see it, but it's 15 cents of value is not going to make me take a fighter just because of that 15 cents of value. This is such a close fight where I don't want to lose the unit that I'm spending. Now, I'll break down Kakhramonov first. If I were to bet on this fight, I would be betting on Kakhramonov. Couple reasons. He has the wrestling. His wrestling pressure is really good. His cardio is excellent. He's been able to take down Ronnie Lawrence, who, against him, he was a minus 300 plus favorite. So that's one thing that stands out immediately for me.
I don't think he was a minus 300 favorite.
Ronnie Lawrence was.
Let me check. I thought I remembered it being close to Pick'em.
Oh, wait, I apologize. I got that mixed up.
Yeah, it was close to Pick'em.
That's on me. Kakhramonov was able to out-wrestle Ronnie Lawrence, who's known for his wrestling, and he's shown that time and time again. So it's still impressive in my book. The striking on Kakhramonov is actually really good too. Going against Said Nurmagomedov, you're going to need that. If he didn't have the striking, I would probably be on Nurmagomedov. Now going on the Said side, Said, the thing I think he could use to his advantage here are the kicks to negate the wrestling entries from Kakhramonov. Is he able to do that though? Is he able to do that effectively without getting that leg snatched up and taken down? That's my issue. Said is the best striker, in my opinion, out of the Nurmagomedov family. And I know there's going to be some people that disagree with that, but I'm just saying what I think. He's able to utilize his striking to his advantage. He's able to utilize those kicks, which is the main arsenal, the main strike in his arsenal. Then I think he cruises to a victory. But I can't count on that. Wrestling for me is always going to be above everything else if you're a good wrestler. So I'm going to have to lean Kakhramonov here. I cannot do anything with this fight. I will cry.
Yeah, so we echo a lot of the same thoughts here. I did end up playing Kakhramonov just for a unit at -104. And for me, it was interesting because when I first saw the line, I was like, all right, my heart says Kakhramonov, my brain is saying Said. And then I got to the tape, and like you kind of mentioned it, like for me, the main difference was the striking. Who's actually throwing hands? Who's putting out output on the feet? Who's going to be the one moving forward and not just trying to counter? And I think it's going to be Kakhramonov. Like, I don't like guys who do those spinning kicks and that kind of striking. I just really don't like that. It's cool if you can mix it in with some striking as well. But if not, like, I'm not a huge fan of that. I just feel like what you mentioned also, like if you're going to be kicking a lot and you're fighting a guy who can wrestle, you're giving him exactly what he wants. And then if you get scared to kick, but you never throw punches, the hell are you going to do? So that was a big thing for me. In terms of the wrestling, I would put in a little bit of an asterisk there because I can't pronounce your name, buddy. Thank you for tuning in. He did make a good point. Ronnie Lawrence.
Insane.
Yeah, it's insane. Ronnie Lawrence had no wrestling background at all. He learned it at his camp. And like he didn't do it to anybody like that good at wrestling. Like it's not like he fought some crazy wrestlers and out grappled them. It was guys who weren't that great at wrestling. Now, Saidyokub, he actually wrestled here in New York. It was funny because I was talking to my brother about him, and he's like, "Wait, what's his name?" And like I told him. Turns out my brother actually watched him wrestle here at the cities. I'm pretty sure he won. Like he was a beast over here. To me, that didn't make sense because I thought he was from Washington or whatever. So I slid in his DMs after the show because he came on, and I was like, yo, like my brother said he saw you wrestling in New York. He's like, yeah, I wrestled there. So Kakhramonov actually does have a background. So just a little, little thing to think about there. Just when you're like looking at the Ronnie Lawrence fight and you're like, wow, like Ronnie can wrestle. Now look at Kakhramonov. Like it kind of made sense that Kakhramonov out-wrestled him, I guess is my point. But regardless, I do think that Said might have the better wrestling. It's almost impossible to tell, which is why I think you're smart for just staying off of it. I felt okay playing -104 just because of that striking edge. And even though while I'm not convinced Kakhramonov's the better wrestler, I don't really expect Said to shoot. He doesn't really do that often. So does it really matter if he's a better offensive wrestler? If he can keep the fight on his feet with his defensive wrestling, okay, I'm happy there because I think Kakhramonov will win on the feet unless he gets caught with a spinning kick to the gut or something that brings him down, which is possible. I just don't think it's going to happen. So we'll move right along. I sure hope we're not on different sides for this one, Wiz. All right, I got to hit you with a bag of oranges.
No, I feel like we are. I don't know why. Like we are.
No. All right, so we've got Julian Marquez versus Deron Winn. Julian Marquez is 9-3-0. He's 32 years old, 6'2" at the 72-inch reach, and he's actually one of the guys who was at Glory and had to dip out real quick so he didn't get thrown off his card. I believe he's at American Top Team right now, if I'm understanding his Instagram correctly. That's what it seems like. Deron Winn on the other side, 7-3-0, 33 years old, 5'6". He is, my goodness, he's 8 inches shorter? He's 8 inches shorter, 70-inch reach, 2-inch reach disadvantage, and he's training out of AKA. Now, before I start, I saw someone post this on Twitter, and I was literally thinking about it earlier. Winn should be a lightweight. He'd be such a good lightweight. Like, just lose some goddamn weight, bro. 5'6". You're shorter than me. Middleweight. It shows. So, yeah, there's zero chance I'm ever betting Deron Winn in the UFC. Just absolutely zero chance, unless they give him, like, I don't know, give me some terrible middleweight. But I really don't want to bet him against anybody. Now, it's not like I love Julian Marquez, and I totally understand everybody's thing. They're like, look, Julian Marquez made Maki Pitolo look like an NCAA champion. But, like, I feel like there's also, like, physicality matters. And I know Deron Winn is strong, but he's like a mini fridge. Like, Maki is a big guy. Like, he has a physicality to bring someone down. Deron Winn, he needs that technique. He's not using his physique, in my opinion. He's using the technique he has because he's an elite wrestler. That he is. But other than that, like, his striking is not good. He can't close the distance. He gets hit a tremendous amount because he's so small and can't close the distance to strike. And Julian Marquez, he's not the best striker ever, but he knocked out Sam Alvey, something that wasn't cool until he did it. Sam Alvey was doing pretty good at just losing fights, not getting knocked out. I don't love the striking, but it looks good. Good jab, nice combos, definitely has power. I like the kicks. Body kick is there. His own wrestling is decent. He's shown an ability to wrestle. I don't think he's going to wrestle Deron Winn by any stretch, but I think people are going to be surprised. I think he will be able to keep it up. And I think he's just going to fuck him up on the feet. Maybe not as well as Phil Hawes did, but I do think he's probably going to hurt him. I'm not down to stake much, so all I did was parlay him with someone I'm going to talk about later for 1.1 unit. That's it. But what are you thinking, Wiz?
Yeah, so we're on the same side here, which doesn't come to my surprise. I've seen some people take the Deron Winn line. I'm like, oh, you guys are ballsy. I get it that Marquez's takedown defense is not the best, but come on, the guy is like 8 inches shorter. That is automatic in that second where, yeah, I don't see Winn winning, as ironic as that sounds. Marquez has some power in his hands, but he is kind of on the slower side with the striking. Another thing to Winn's disadvantage here is that he's 5'6", which means that he has to punch upwards. And I've talked about this a couple of times on multiple different shows and channels. When you're fighting someone that is taller than you, and specifically like taller than 3-4 inches or more than your own height, it adds to that reach disadvantage because you have to punch upwards unless you're hitting the body. When you punch upwards, you're losing inches of reach because at that point, A, you have to manage your distance, and B, you have to punch over to the guy's face, which it makes it that much harder. I don't see a path for Winn besides the wrestling, which I'm not going to rule out completely, but I just can't see it unless Marquez is just mentally hurt from that loss against Hobocop, my guy. I don't see him losing here. So give me Julian Marquez. I haven't placed anything on this fight yet, just for the sole fact that I only want to place inside the distance on Marquez, and I'm not too confident in that either. But I do think he gets it done inside the distance via knockout in the third round.
Round 3 prop. I like it. I like it. I was cracking up when you were like describing the uppercuts because I was just imagining tiny Deron Winn with his T-Rex arms just uppercutting.
Dude, it's not even just the uppercuts. It's the straights. It's the hooks. It's everything.
Also, I missed this comment. Did you know this? Is this true? Doug Crosby's under review now?
Yep.
Thank God. Finally, they're doing something, man. I feel like
D'Amato, get that bum out of here.
Literally every week, I feel like we're talking about bad judging. Finally, this is what it took.
It's about time.
But all right, we can move on. This is another.
We might be on different sides.
We might be. I'm probably going to be sitting on the sidelines for this one, but this is another guy who was on my show, Semelsberger. Very dope guy. Big fan of his. He was really chill to talk to. But all right, here we've got Jake Matthews versus Matt Semelsberger. Matthews is 18-5-0, 28 years old. He's 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, and he trains out of Australian elite team, as far as I could tell. Semelsberger is 10-4-0, 30 years old. He's 6'1", so he's going to be 2 inches taller here. 75-inch reach. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's training out of Crazy 88. Wiz, why don't you start us off, brother?
I am more than happy to start this one off because.
Do you remember this comment, Wiz?
Oh my God! Yeah. Listen, I have admitted fault. I have taken the jabs at the gym. I have been beaten down. It's fine.
That was too funny.
It happens. And you know what? It's my own fault. I should have just stayed out. But whatever. We'll move on. Semelsberger at plus 200 is a fucking steal. This line is so wide. People are forgetting who Jake Matthews is. I get it. He hurt and outstruck Andre Fiallo, who is a one-punch KO or bust. But now all of a sudden you want to lay minus 280 on the guy? Come on, guys. Let's wait here. Matthew Semelsberger can do everything that Jake Matthews does. And I'm not saying that he's better than him by any means, but plus 200, I'm going to have to take it. Whether it's a half unit or a full unit, I haven't decided yet. But I think Semelsberger can hurt Matthews on the feet. I think he can take him down and hurt him on the ground. I think he can sub Matthews because he's, I believe he's a brown belt from what I remember. I haven't looked into the Instagram to see if he got promoted to a black belt yet or not, but the guy has ground game too. And against that kid from the Contender Series, I don't remember his name. Let me pull it up here. AJ Fletcher, who was touted to be a really strong wrestler. He was able to wrestle with him. I know it's because AJ Fletcher got tired, but still was able to wrestle him. So why are we so confident and giving the Jake Matthews a price tag of minus 240 when the striking, I think it's pretty equal, and the grappling is pretty much equal as well, in my opinion. So I would be a fool to take Jake Matthews here. I get it. The kid showed improvements, big improvements in his last fight. But that's just one fight against someone who's inexperienced, who has fought nobody. So give me Matthew Semelsberger. And I think that this is the dog of the night.
Wiz, we're going to have a problem here, man. If you don't start disagreeing with me soon, we're going to have a serious issue. How?
Hey, that doesn't always mean that it's a bad thing.
Nah, it's great. I think it's great. It's just for the fans, but I'm happy to agree. It makes me feel better because I was breaking this fight down today, and I felt crazy. Because I kept looking at the number, and I was like, this just doesn't seem right. I don't know if I'm as confident as you because I do think that, at least in the wrestling, I think it's going to be Matthews if he chooses to use it. I think maybe this might be it's a narrative, but it's not the worst point to make. You know, Jake has been talking about his boxing. Is he even going to look to wrestle? I don't even think he shot a single time against Fiallo. I'm pretty sure he didn't. So I do think he's the better wrestler. He might not use it. And like you mentioned, Semelsberger has shown solid takedown defense. AJ Fletcher he's a tough dude. He's maybe not the highest level guy, but he's a good wrestler. That's for sure. And I'm looking up the numbers. I wanted to see how many times Fletcher shot. He got 4 of 6 takedowns, but still pretty good. Didn't get controlled too much, won the fight. So, and I also think that maybe Matthews is a slightly better striker. But I think if he is, I think it's only ever so slightly. I think his hands are extremely fast. I think that's good for him. In the pocket, he looks absolutely nasty. I did notice that. But at range, I don't really see much of a difference between the two of them. I feel like it's very similar. Just more speed up from Matthews is what I'm seeing. What are you saying, Wiz?
Who do you think has the power advantage here?
Oof. Probably Semelsberger. He's just bigger. He's physically bigger. And, I mean, Matthews looked like he carried a punch against Fiallo, right? I mean,
Fiallo doesn't have that big of a chin.
Yeah, he got knocked out a fight later again, right?
Van Camp. I'm not saying no disrespect, but he dropped Fiallo in that first round.
He wobbled him hard. That was crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy. But I echo a lot of your thoughts. I just think it's too wide, and I'm pretty happy to put a half unit on it. And look, if Matthews outclasses him, all right, good game. You're young, improving, and I'll probably back you your next fight. Just didn't think you should be this much of a favorite here. So, and did you play it yet?
Not yet. I'm still trying to decide if I want to do a half, a full, or maybe even 2 units.
I was just going to say, it looks like we have time. Money's just coming in on Matthews. I see everybody parlaying him up.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, I'm just going to let them parlay. If we can get him at plus 250 or higher, I'll be hype.
Hey,
just
he's
for a half.
insane. He was on Mike's show, not mine though.
Hey, look, that's fair game, and I did happen. I'm backing both guys who are on my show, so you can say I'm super biased. But look, I don't know how to respond to that to say I'm not.
Hey, he was
It's
never
just
on
my
my
read.
show. No personal connection. It's just, this line is just too wide. If you disagree with that,
I'm
I'm sorry.
I'm able to admit, like I said, I don't necessarily think he's better in any aspect. I just think that he's as good in most aspects, and he can win this fight. And I don't think he should be plus 220. So we can move on. Same page once again. All right. This is a good one. Not a good one, a fun one. Kind of. We got Cheyanne Vlismas versus Cory McKenna. Vlismas is 7-2-0, 27 years old, 5'3" with a 63-inch reach, and she's training out of. Is she at Fortis? Do you know?
As
That's
of
what
right now, from
Tapology
the
says.
UFC, it's Fortis. That's just as of right now, but Roman Dolidze have been putting in work too.
That almost flew over my head. I was about to just keep reading the intros. But Cory McKenna on the other side is also 7-2-0. She's 23 years old, 5'3" as well, 58-inch reach. She's giving up 5 inches in reach, and she's at Team Alpha Male. So I'll start this one off. And before I do, real quick, Zinsane asking me if I would bet against the guys on my show if I thought they'd lose. Yeah, I mean, I almost bet against Saidyokub. My original bet was going to be Said Nurmagomedov, but the tape. But yeah, I would. Look, I do my very best not to bet with my heart. That's why when Robert Whittaker fights, I don't bet. That's why when Max Holloway fights, I don't bet. When Peter Yan fights, I bet, and I've lost my house. So try not to bet with my heart. But back to this fight. I really like Cheyanne here. I really do. I liked her as an early lean when the odds first opened. I did a quick tape, and then I played her at minus 160 for 2 units. Now she's like minus 200. And I still think that price is even warranted. Like, I do. I get the people are saying, like, I think it's a very valid criticism to be like, Cory McKenna can wrestle. Look at Cheyanne. She got caught against Montserrat. She got taken down like 5 times with the fucking hip throw that they teach you in elementary wrestling classes. Like, I get it. I do. But first off, I think that Cory McKenna does not have the physicality of Montserrat. Yeah, they're the same size. They're both very small, stocky women, but Cory McKenna's just very, very small. And aside from that, like, Cheyanne has shown very good takedown defense outside of that. And like, everybody has their off nights. And I'm willing to say, like, I think that was an off night. I don't expect that again from her. And in terms of the striking here, I mean, I think it's not even close. Like, if McKenna can't take her down, I think she's screwed. And I am going to play Cheyanne by KO. I'm just waiting for FanDuel or BetRivers to give me better lines. It's plus 500 now. I feel like we could probably get better, but I really do think that she's going to probably knock out Cory at some point. How about you, Iz?
When you touch the magical chest hair, you have superpowers. When you are associated with Roman Dolidze, the wife stealer, Mr. Steal Your Girl.
He's been undefeated since he did that too.
Exactly. And who's to say that it's not going to happen here too? Well, let's get back to the real breakdown here. Man, I don't think we're disagreeing this show. Cheyanne is definitely the side here. I know the money line might be a little bit wide here, just given the takedown threat from McKenna, but as you mentioned, I think Cheyanne's takedown defense is pretty solid. And in the striking, it's not even close. Let me remind you guys, Cory McKenna lost to Elise Reed on the feet. Elise Reed. Just putting that out there. I hope you guys have watched that fight and have gained some experience. And I'm sorry for the lost time that you've wasted on watching that fight. But she lost to Elise Reed on the feet. You know how bad that is? Going against someone like Cheyanne Vlismas, who carries power, who has all types of strikes in her arsenal, whether it's straight, looping, over the top. It's her striking is clean, and the reach is just going to help her that much more. I have to put it that way. The only way I see Cory McKenna winning this fight is if she's able to land these takedowns at will, which I just can't see. I can't see that happening. So ultimately, I lean Cheyanne. I'm not going to lay minus 200 on WMMA all that often. So I'm gonna have to pass from like a bet standpoint. But if you got it at the early line like Mike did, I gotta give you an applause. That's solid. So give me Cheyanne.
All right. Same side once again. Dude, also, like, I was watching the tape on Cheyanne today. I can't get over that head kick on Gloria to Paula.
Oh,
That was so clean. I ran it back over and over and over again. Like, the slap, the timing, everything was so clean about that.
and she's hot.
Bro, Roman's going to come after you. Careful.
Come after me, Roman.
My guy is undefeated, bro. My guy's undefeated.
I'm like, come after me, Roman.
Bro, I've been trying to fade Roman, and it has not worked out for me. And I shouldn't either, because he's Georgian and Ukrainian. I'm Ukrainian. My girlfriend's Georgian. I should be biased as hell towards this guy, and for some reason, every single fight, I try to fade him.
How dare you?
I'm paying for it. Time and time again. Guy's going to be champion by next year, just with memes. He's going to make it there with memes.
Yep.
But all right.
Slicer was nasty.
Dude, oh my. The way he used it to get a TKO was nasty. Like, I got to give it to him. That's something else. I don't think that's ever been done.
I'm also sorry for all the headphone users here. I'm screaming a lot.
Oh, you're good. Half the time I get way too close to my mic and I'm screaming too. But we can move on to this next one. And this is a fight that, like, I'm going to stay off. I'm definitely going to stay off of it. But we've got Cody Brundage versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. Brundage is 8-2-0, 28 years old. He's 6 feet tall at the 72-inch reach, and he's training at a Factory X. Michal is 17-5-0, 27 years old. He's 1 year younger. 6 feet tall. They're the same height, 74-inch reach. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage, and he is out of Ankos MMA. So, Wiz, start us off.
So we passed the two fights where you had a friend of the show. Now we're coming into my territory. Friend of the show, Cody Brundage, super like one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. Going against someone who I have backed a lot in the past. I think in almost every one of his UFC fights, besides the Jacoby fight. I actually was on Jacoby there. Oleksiejczuk carries massive power. It's hard to deny. But there's one thing that we haven't seen is how is his wrestling? How is his takedown defense? Because Cody Brundage brings it all. It's going to sound biased here, but I'm probably going to be playing Cody Brundage for half a unit here. And I get it if you guys say that it's biased. I understand completely. But it's another one of these situations where you have someone who is known to be a very good striker, knockout power, and stuff like that. But you're going against someone who has really good wrestling and really good submission grappling and has faced controversy in the octagon, not in the regional scene, against Dalcha, where Cody looked like he was out. And I was on Dalcha in that fight. Cody looked like he was out and he was about to get knocked out until he got that guillotine. And it seems like the guy knows how to navigate these hairy situations. And in the last fight, where no one ever thought that Tresean Gore is going to get knocked out because he has a solid chin, he gets the first round knockout. So all signs for me point to taking Brundage for a small portion, but my favorite play here is the under 1.5. You can find it at -105 to -115 right now. Both of these guys have first round finishes for days in the UFC, and I think it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a first round finish for one of these fighters, and I'm predicting it to be Cody by submission here. So, yeah, give me Cody Brundage, the more physical dude with the wrestling.
Yeah, so I'm just pulling up the stats real quick because I want to see if Mushroom's right. Michal has never won a fight when he got taken down once. Okay, Dustin Jacoby lost that one. Jimmy Crute and OSP. Okay, fair. But yeah, so I really wanted to bet Brundage. I did. I wanted to say, like, oh, yeah, his wrestling's going to be good here. And while I do think he can take Michal down, maybe, like, I was watching that Gore fight, right? And he wrestled off the bat. And to me, it looked like he slowed down quite a bit just off of, like, 3 minutes of wrestling. Because, like, in the 4th minute, he was slow. He was backing up. He wasn't throwing as much. He did end up getting that counter at the end of the round, so obviously he wasn't dead. To me, it seemed like the grappling slowed him down. And if you're going to get tired out against Michal Oleksiejczuk, you're kind of fucked. Like, he's not going to stop. And now he's down at this weight class. I really like him here. I'm glad he came down. Finally, he doesn't look like he's just off the couch with a bunch of flab fat hanging off. Actually looks in shape. And yeah, I think he probably wins this. I think he's a better striker. I think he's got really, really good pressure. And I think that's probably going to be the difference maker here is that pressure, the striking. I feel like Brundage, he's meat and potatoes, a little basic in the striking. Not that that's a bad thing, it's probably a good thing for most fighters, but I just think that Michal should be able to run away with this as the fight goes on. Maybe a late finish, but do I want to parlay him? No, I do not. Not at all. Do I want to play Brundage? No, not anymore. The under is kind of interesting. Under 1.5 at -115. That has my attention, but I'm probably just going to stay off, I think, most likely. But some disagreement finally, Wiz.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to put a shoey bet on this one because this is such a wide line. So come on now. We got to have a little bit of a closer line to put a shoey on it. And
you're trying to get a shoey bet in.
Oh, we're getting a shoey bet in.
All right. We got 1, 2.
From Herb Dean is the gold standard. You think Cheyanne has top 5 potential now?
I want to talk about that too.
Now, are you talking about UFC ranking or something else? Because I think yes for both.
I feel so bad for Cheyanne because all these jokes come from the Roman side, but she totally just has to eat it all. And it's just like non-stop. And the more they win, the more the jokes come. Oh, man. And meanwhile, JP Bays is somewhere just punching the wall right now.
Yeah, but he fumbled the bag.
Yeah, do I think she'll be top 5? What's the weight class again? It's strawweight. I don't see why not. She's young. She's got the tools. I think she can get there. Right now, no. But in time,
that wrestling wrinkle in her game.
Yeah, I think the striking's like on the higher level for that division for sure.
Yeah,
and the power. I don't think a lot of women have the power that she does.
Yep.
But all right, this is one that I really wanted to talk to you about, and I actually think we might be on opposite sides. So we've got Bobby Green versus Drew Dober. Drew Dober is 25-11-0. 34 years old. He's 5'8" with a 70-inch reach, training out of Elevation. Bobby Green is 29-13-1, 36 years old. He's 2 years older. 5'10". He's 2 inches taller. What? Oh. God damn it. 71-inch reach, 1-inch reach advantage. But yeah, so, and Bobby Green is training. I honestly don't know. Do you know where Bobby Green trains?
He's all over the place. He's from my side of the town, but he doesn't train at King's. He goes to a bunch of different gyms. He trains at UFC gyms too, so I'm surprised how I haven't run into him.
Training with Bobby would be hilarious. If you ever run into him, you got to tell everybody about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But all right, yeah, I'll start this one off. And I haven't played it yet, but I am leaning Bobby Green. And it's a close one for me. It really is. For me, it just really comes down to output, I think. I think that if Drew Dober doesn't knock out Bobby Green's going to make this very difficult for him. In terms of winning minutes, I just don't really see how Drew Dober wins the minutes here against Bobby. Maybe by landing more impactful shots. We've seen that really matter, especially lately. And judges just seem to absolutely hate Bobby Green already before they were abysmal. So, of course, there's some hesitancy, but I just feel like Bobby does a lot of things really well, moves a lot. I don't love the hands down. Normally, I would fade anybody who did that, but the guy's got a 62% striking defense over I think he has over 20 UFC fights, something like that. We're talking about a tremendous sample size, high-level guys. He's fighting guys like Rafael Fiziev and 62% striking defense. Rolls really well with the strikes. His boxing is really crisp. I love the output, like I mentioned. The jab is extremely clean. He's got 8 sub wins. Not that I expect anything like that, but he's well-rounded. I do think if we see wrestling, I don't think we're going to see it, but we have seen Bobby throw it in, and I think that if anybody does wrestle and find success, it'll be Bobby rather than Dober. So, yeah, I'm probably going to get to the money line for a unit because, like I said, I just think that Dober has to knock him out to win. And Bobby hasn't been knocked down since 2017 against Lando Venata. He hasn't been knocked out since 2016 against Dustin Poirier. Can Dober do it? Hell yeah, he can. Like I said, Bobby's hands are down a lot. Dober hits like a train. He has a truck for a chin himself. So, like, you're not putting him away. That's for sure. And something the commentary was talking about that I thought was actually a pretty good point. When Bobby was fighting Nasrat, they were talking about how Bobby, you can hit him in the body because you can roll with strikes if it's at your head, but you can't roll strikes that are going to your body. So Dober, something I noticed is he goes to the body really nice. That's something he does better than a lot of people. He goes to the body with his hands, the body kick. He's a southpaw, so he's got that liver kick open. He definitely is going to have his opportunities, and I do think a KO is possible. So 1 unit only, probably going to play it, but I wanted to pick Wiz's brain first. So, Wiz, what are you thinking, man?
Sign that Shui contract right now.
Let's go. Deal.
Sign the Shui contract and a pack of beer or seltzers.
Deal.
Yeah, I'm not betting this on a money line standpoint, but I feel very strongly towards the Dober side. The power is something that Bobby Green hasn't really faced before, except for against Poirier. And Poirier himself doesn't really carry too much power.
How about Fiziev?
Fiziev is not a power puncher by all means. For me, he's more of a volume striker. And yeah, the power this dude Dober carries is ridiculous. You don't really see it all that often. And when you're able to be durable like that, and when someone overcommits to striking like Bobby Green does and leaves his head open and the body, great shot to the body, because I thought I was going to be one of the only people to notice it. But when you leave your body and your head open like that, it's a recipe for disaster. It's something that I compare to Yuri's form of defense, which is non-existent. So I got to go with Dober here. I think he gets the knockout and finishes Bobby Green, who also is coming off of a 6-month USADA suspension for something that isn't anything major. Like, I'm not going to argue about this. DHEA, it's something that doesn't really affect your body or give it any advantages unless it's taken in excess amounts. So, yeah, I got to go with Dober, who is just, in my opinion, the more proven fighter. He's the younger fighter, sorry. And, yeah, more power. I love these power fighters, and we were just talking about not going with people who leave it to the judges, and Bobby Green does that, and he fights down to his competition way too often. So
the judges hate him too.
No, that too.
He's their Angela Hill.
Yep, you got that right. So give me Drew Dober for the Shui.
The other thing I wanted to mention before we move on, I was watching the fight with Dober and Alves. Dude, I love Alves. Like, that's all I want to say. Like, I love that guy. He opened the fight off with a crazy capoeira kick, gets exhausted, fouls him, rests up a little bit, does that funky head movement with the walk he did. Man, he's so much fun. I love
that little funky head movement. And he was like robot.
DC's like, knocked out. DC's like, how's he doing this? And then Rogan's like, he got a break. But yeah, we can move on. And actually, one other thing I wanted to ask you before we moved on: Jamal Hill versus the inevitable Jiri Prochazka for the title. No tape yet. Who do you think wins?
Wait. Why are you assuming Jamal Hill's going to win?
I do think he's going to beat Glover, but this is just an assumption.
Okay, assumption. Because I'm very back and forth on that fight as of right now.
I like Hill so much.
Against Jiri, yeah, it's going to have to be a max bet on Jamal Hill.
Really?
A max bet.
Just because of how Jiri doesn't defend himself at all?
And this is something, it's so funny how you're asking me about this right now. Yesterday, I rewatched Jiri Glover. Yuri's head is right here. Like, it's in the camera. Jamal Hill's going to pop him. It's going to be a max bet for me if that's the actual outcome. Just being 100%. And you can come back to it. I will put a max bet. Like, the last max bet I had was Caio Borraio against Armen Petrosyan. I put 15 units on that guy. That was closer than I wanted it to be, but, lay and pray, baby.
You know what my last max bet was? Talk about close. I max bet Irene Aldana against, what's her face? Chiasson. And it was way too close. She literally won with an up kick to the liver, and I wasn't even watching at that.
I was on that too.
I was like doing something else, and Pat just like texted me. He's like, "Bro," and I was like, "Do not tell me what happened just now." And then I look, and it was a freaking liver kick. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I was fully convinced that she was gonna lose that fight, and I had 4 units on her.
Yeah, I was very uncomfortable, but I'm glad it worked out for her with apparently what she trained. Apparently she's training that up kick. But we can move on to the next fight now. We've got Alex Caceres versus Julian Erosa. Caceres is 19-13-0. He's 34 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach, and he's training out of MMA Lab, I believe, still. No, actually, according to Instagram, it was Hidden Lotus MMA. I think it's like a gym he started or something. But Erosa on the other side is 28-9-0, 33 years old as well. We've got like 5 33-year-olds on this card. 6'1", he's 3 inches taller, 75-inch reach. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage, training out of Extreme Couture. I think it's your turn, Wiz. Start us off.
I think Erosa runs away with this one by decision. I don't want to lay that price tag on Julian Erosa. I think Caceres' striking is horrible. Ground game is great, but Erosa's ground game is pretty decent too. I have to give it to the guy. He's able to defend these the submission attempts, and he can wrestle. In the striking department, it's Erosa all day. Sungwoo Choi is someone that I was backing very heavily against Alex Caceres, and if it wasn't for that illegal knee, he was getting the knockout. I think Erosa is able to get him out in the second round. Erosa's pressure is ridiculous, and against Hakeem Dawodu in the last fight, very impressive, very telling as to how this guy is improving throughout his career, even at 33, which is not old, but it's definitely what you would consider past your prime and UFC age. So I have to take Julian Erosa here, but I don't want to lay that price tag. It's kind of frightening. And Alex Caceres hasn't fought in a while. If I'm just looking at it, I mean, 8 months is not too long, but it's still something that's discouraging for me. I have to take Julian Erosa. But money line wise, I would wish this line would come down, but I doubt it will. It'll probably get juiced a little bit more. Probably minus 210 is where it'll end at 215.
Yeah, so I actually played it at minus 170, and it's minus 162. So a little better than what I got it at. Maybe it'll go the other way again. But yeah, I like Erosa here. I also bet Sungwoo Choi against Caceres and bet him pretty heavily there. That sucked. Didn't feel good there. But yeah, I still don't think that highly of Caceres. Like I wanted to look at their competition for the last 5 fights for both of them. And I feel like this is kind of telling. Erosa, Hakeem Dawodu beat him. Peterson beat him. I know people don't love that fight. I get it. Charles Jourdain was his brother, beat him. Sungwoo Choi lost to him, but fought him. And Lanware beat him as well. Caceres, Yusuf, good competition, lost to him. Woo Choi beat him, and Erosa lost to him, so MMA math says Caceres should win. Beat Kroom, who's no longer with the organization. Beat Springer, who's no longer with the organization. And he beat Hooper, who just got knocked out clean. So I feel like Erosa has had the harder go of it. Even before that, he fought Sean Woodson in 2020. I remember I had a lot of bread on Woodson, and I was very upset because Woodson was winning the whole fight, and then Erosa choked him out. But it was actually closer than I remembered. It was a pretty good fight. I just think Erosa's been I think he's been impressive. I feel like, especially in that Hakeem Dawodu fight, a lot of people kind of woke up to him. I bet him there. I wasn't extremely confident. I just felt like the line was off. I don't love the activity of Hakeem Dawodu, and that kind of showed there. Erosa was able to outwork him. And I think he's going to do something similar here. I think he'll outwork Caceres on the feet. I don't think Caceres can take him down. If anything, I think Erosa will get the takedown. He's been wrestling quite a bit recently. 2 takedowns against Dawodu, 3 against Peterson, 2 against Jourdain. He is using that wrestling. He has the better striking, in my opinion. I think he'll be able to keep it at range. Caceres, he started off as a striker, a karate guy or whatever, and he's not that good of a striker. And his ground game's been picking up. He's been doing a lot of competitions. I remember, I think it was last year when Sean Brady got that W that made no sense. He also got a win. against a decent guy. I don't know the names very well, but yeah, I think Arosa should win here. Probably a decision, so I just played a money line, even though it is a little steep. I do agree there. I'm looking at the sub prop. That's something that has my interest just because Arosa has been submitted 7 times. I mean, not Arosa, sorry. Caceres has been submitted 7 times, and Arosa has submitted good guys. He subbed Jourdain with a Darce, clean. Got a Darce on Sean Woodson, too. So I think he can submit him. I think it'll probably just be a decision, but I am going to play the sub prop just a tiny bit, maybe a quarter unit. And yeah, we're on the same side here.
Sir, no surprise.
We can move on. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be disagreeing for this next one either. I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
We've got Amir Albazi versus Alessandro Costa. Amir Albazi, 15-1-0, 29 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach, and he's out of Extreme Couture. Costa on the other side is 12-2-0, 26 years old. He's 3 years younger, 5'4". He's 1 inch shorter, 67-inch reach. He's got a 1 inch reach disadvantage, and not positive about his camp, so we'll go with Tapology. If you know better, Wiz, let me know. It says Legacy MMA and Brazilian Warriors.
Yeah, that's the same thing to my knowledge.
So I'll start this one off. Amir Albazi, I think he's not so much a dark horse anymore, but he's my dark horse of the flyweight division. He has been since he beat Malcolm Gordon. I was like, I like this guy. And since then, he's done nothing but show off. And, you know, Costa's not bad either. I did a lot of Contender Series stuff this past year, like this past season. And Costa was somebody who I did like. You know, he didn't get the contract, had to go fight outside of the UFC, and it wasn't the most impressive fight. It was a split. I thought he won clearly, unanimous, but it didn't show all that much. He's got really good grappling. His striking's all right, but what it comes down to for me is Albazi's better literally everywhere. I don't see anywhere where Costa has him covered. I don't really see where it'll get competitive. Costa, I know he is like a black belt, I think, and Albazi's only like a purple belt, but Malcolm Gordon's a black belt too, and Albazi submitted him with like ease. So do I think Malcolm Gordon has the same BJJ as Costa? Probably not. I think Costa probably has better, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think on the feet, it's Albazi. I think on the ground, it's Albazi. So he's my parlay anchor that I used a little bit. I'm not going to go crazy just because the number kind of sucks, but he's the guy I anchored Morozov to. That came out to minus 133 for a unit, and I put Marquez with him because I didn't know what to do with Marquez. That was minus 102 for 1.1 unit. And I'm not going to – oh, yeah, and I did play his KO prop for plus 700, 0.2 units, just similar to what I was talking about earlier. I love those angles where somebody has really good BJJ, you know, 8 submissions on his record. Everybody's looking at that. Okay, he's going to get a sub, obviously. KO props plus 700. Guy's got hands, first of all. Albazi has good hands, in my opinion. He's got 4 knockout wins. And I don't even think this has to be a situation where it's ground and pound. I think it could be on the feet, too. So – I like Albazi here. I think it's going to be very clear, Albazi. How about you, Wiz?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to disagree with any of the points that you just made. I think it's Albazi inside the distance. I think it's Albazi with whichever method that he finds capable. The easiest method would probably be the submission, but the guy, like you said, has hands and he's powerful. I think they're just throwing this guy to the wolves in this first fight. I feel bad for Alessandro Costa. I'm not saying he's a bad fighter, but this is just a little bit too tall of a task for him in his first UFC fight. So I'm gonna have to stick with Albazi. I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. There's not much to break down here.
Yeah, usually not much to say when there's a minus 400 favorite, unless you're backing the dog.
Yeah.
But all right, next up we've got a banger, people's main event, at least for me. We've got Arman Tsarukyan versus Damir Ismagulov. Arman is 18-3-0, 26 years old. He's 5'7" with a 73-inch reach, and he trains out of Tiger Muay Thai at the moment. Damir is 24-1-0, 31 years old. He's 5 years older, 5'10". He's 3 inches taller. He's at a 74-inch reach, a 1 inch reach advantage, and he trains out of American Top Team. So, Wiz, why don't you start us off, brother?
Very, very interesting fight. Definitely the people's main event. If anyone says otherwise, I would strongly consider watching this fight and not blinking. I like both fighters. I think this is very equal. And by me saying that, obviously there's going to be people that say, yeah, you're going to have to take the underdog. Dogger pass, and I definitely think it's a Dogger pass spot. Ismagulov is a good wrestler in his own right, and in the striking department, I think he's a lot better than Sarukian, who lost in the striking department against Gamrot, who, yeah, is a decent striker, but he's not anywhere near the level of Ismagulov. Now, this could be close if Sarukian is able to hold Ismagulov down with the takedowns and land the nasty ground and pound that we saw against Joel Alvarez, but the grappling is levels there when you're comparing the two fighters. So I have to take plus 145 on Ismagulov. I haven't locked it in yet. I don't think I will, because it's another one of those fights where I feel like I'm going to regret it either way I bet it. Whether I win or not, I feel like I'm going to be sweating amounts of sweat that I've never sweat before. And I don't want to ruin my winnings. As funny as that sounds. It's tough. I love both of these guys. They're both very high on my list in the lightweight division. So I'm going to have to lean Ismagulov, but when we're talking about a betting standpoint, I would rather pass and enjoy the fight as for the last fight in the evening as well.
Yeah, so I do think this is going to be very close, and I think that the smart minds are right that, usually you have a close fight, go with the dog. I couldn't do it here. I had to take Arman. I got him at minus 165. I did it for 2 units. Personally, I think that if he wins this fight, we're probably not going to see that price again until he fights Islam, because dude's high level. He was favored over Mateusz Gamrot, and a lot of us still felt he won that fight. I'm not going to push that. I had Arman, so obviously I'm biased, but I just think, and I guess I'm also double biased because I bet Guram Kutateladze against Damir Ismagulov. I was there live, and I very, very strongly felt that Guram won that fight. So, now I don't know. I got to rewatch it. I haven't watched that fight. Actually, I did for this, but I didn't watch it all the way through. So I haven't really thought about it again, whether it was a robbery or not. But it showed me that Damir's not invincible, right? And I already knew that also from the Rafael Alves fight. I already knew that from his previous fights. Damir's really good. But to me, I don't know. It just feels like there's something missing. And I get it with the striking, but I personally, I'm not convinced he's a better striker than Arman. I think it might be close, if not even. I think Arman's very good at striking. He's been showing that. A lot of people used to only talk about his grappling, and then he showed off against Christos Giagos, knocked him out. Yoel Alvarez knocked him out. Against Gamrot, I thought he was winning the striking. I thought, if anything, Gamrot won that fight off of the wrestling, but I just think that on the feet, like I said, either close to evens or maybe even Sarukian for me. And then in the grappling, offensive grappling, it's clearly Arman. Now, can Arman actually take down Ismagulov and control him with Damir having a 90% takedown defense? Only got taken down by Guram, and I'm pretty sure Guram didn't hold him down for long. No, not even a minute. So it's hard to know, but he also hasn't been tested that much against good wrestlers. Guram is a striker. Rafael Alves is a striker. Thiago Moises, okay, he's a BJJ guy, but his wrestling was never all that high level. Yoel Alvarez is not a good wrestler. And Alex Georgie's, that speaks for itself. So I just feel like Arman's going to be the better man. I do think it's going to be super close, and I do get why people don't want to lay chalk here. It definitely makes sense to me, because even me, I'm fairly confident Arman wins, but I'm going to be sitting there and I'm going to be shook the whole fight probably. It's not going to be a runaway on either side, in my opinion. So I do get the whole dogger pass side here, but sticking with my guy Arman, my first ever dark horse, and somebody I still think is going to fight for the title. Is he going to win it? That's another story, but yeah, I like Arman here. A little bit of disagreement, Wiz.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. All right, we're up to the main event of the evening. Curious to see what you're thinking here. I took a prop, not so much a side, but
I know exactly what prop you took, but I'm not going to spoil it.
Me and half of Twitter hit it all at the same time when DraftKings opened it up.
Let me guess. Is it Cannonier finish only?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't get the dope line. People got it at minus 120, which is whoever opened it up there is getting fired. I promise you. But anyways, we've got Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. Cannonier is 15-6-0, 38 years old. I was surprised by that. I didn't realize. 5'11" with a 78-inch reach, training out of an MMA lab. Strickland on the other side, he's 25, 4-0, 31. He's 7 years younger, 6'1". He's 2 inches taller, 76-inch reach. He's got a 2-inch reach disadvantage, and I believe he's at Extreme Couture. So I'll start this one off. I already said my bet. Cannonier decision, no action, and I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it just makes sense. Cannonier, I don't see him getting finished here, but I also don't really see him winning minutes. I think technique-wise, their striking is pretty even, but Sean Strickland's the output guy. He's the one who's going to be in your face. He's the one who's going to be letting it rip. Thing is, we're going to have 5 rounds, 25 minutes for this man, Jared Cannonier, to knock him out. I don't like betting on knockouts. That's why I didn't play Cannonier's money line. Like, I don't like betting someone who needs a knockout to win. Same reason I didn't bet Jairzinho Rosenstruck last week, even though in hindsight it was an easy bet. I just think here, Sean Strickland, I love the guy, but the way he fights is just zero IQ. It's like he has good IQ, but he wants to do it anyways because he recognizes it. He was like talking about it in an interview. He's like, I would do it again. I would just raise my right arm higher. Like, for the love of God, man. And like, you think he's just saying these things, but he's not. Because going into the Pereira fight, he was going in interviews. He's like, yeah, everyone thinks I'm going to strike. Maybe I'll put on my wrestling shoes. No, he just went and just struck with him. It was ridiculous. So while maybe technique-wise it's a slight edge to Strickland, and it's definitely an edge output-wise, but other than that, I just think he's going to get hit at some point, and I think he's going to get slept at some point. And if we do get to a decision, I do think it's going to be Strickland, but I don't want to put money on him and then sit there with my cheeks clenched for 25 minutes praying he doesn't get knocked out because he's walking around like this, yelling at Jared to hit him harder. Like, I can't do that.
Why don't you play both?
Decision
only Strickland and finish only Cannonier.
I don't like doing that just because it's a recipe for disaster. You do that, and then Cannonier wins a decision or Strickland knocks him out.
True.
Like clockwork. So, because like at the end of the day, it's MMA and all this crazy shit happens. So like, don't want to be too exposed to a fight like that. But I did play 3 units at -140, decision no action for Cannonier, just because I'm fairly confident that Strickland's not going to put him out. It'll suck if Cannonier wins a decision. I just don't really think there's high odds of that. What are you thinking, Wiz?
Yeah, a lot of the same points. Strickland wins a decision here. Cannonier wins a knockout. I think Strickland's going to get back on the right path here, personally. But who knows how that recoverability was from that knockout.
How long ago was it? Do you remember?
It was, I'll pull it up right here. It is 4 months, which just about the average time of people coming back. Usually it's a little bit more, but
it's never against Alex Pereira.
Exactly. And when I tell you that guy's presence is scary, like when I met this dude, it was scary. Like I was shaking. But yeah, going back to this fight, I think Strickland is able to outpoint him for 5 rounds and win a boring decision, as he always does. But your bet is solid. If I were to ever bet on this fight, it would be that same thing. I just would rather just watch this fight. It's too close of a matchup, in my opinion, because none of these guys usually wrestle. It's mainly just a striking matchup. So I would rather just lay off, enjoy it, and stay away. I like Cannonier's power. I do think he can get Strickland out of there given the recency of that knockout. And Strickland sometimes can get over-aggressive, which will play right into the power dynamic there. So it's a hard fight to call. But give me Strickland by decision. That's the only way I could think of playing this fight besides the way that you took it.
Makes sense to me. Do you know what the odds are for like Strickland decision only?
I do not.
Let me pull it up real quick because I'm curious.
It might be like a -160, 170. If not more.
Let's see. All right. Wow, you were very close. -165.
Oh.
Pretty much on the dot. Yeah, that's not bad.
I think that's his win condition.
Yeah, I mean, if Izzy couldn't knock out Jared over 5 rounds of pinpoint shotting him,
but also Izzy was just he was just cruising there.
Yeah, that's true. What's it called? Strickland is not going to cruise. My guy does not cruise.
No. That guy is gear 1.
Did you see the Jack Marshman clip going around today? with him fighting Jack Marshman and just like him yelling at him? It was just like him yelling, and it like I saw the fight, but like now seeing the clip like up close, it's just so crazy because he's fighting Jack Marshman. How can Jack win that fight? By getting a knockout. He always could. The guy's got power. That's all he has, Jack Marshman. And what did Sean do? Come on, Jack. Hit me, Jack. Hit me, Jack. Like, come on, man. Win the fight and shut up. But that's just not him. That's why I can't bet him again after. Like, I really believed in him. I thought he was going to wrestle against Pereira.
So did I.
I'm an idiot.
Wow. We were surprised.
Not only did he not wrestle, before the fight, he literally said, all that guy has is a left hook, and then proceeds to get knocked out by that left hook. Ridiculous.
Yeah, a lot of people slept on Pereira. A lot of people slept on him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like. I thought he was good, but I didn't think he was beating Izzy. That's for sure. Bet against him there.
Felt like I was on an island there. I was on
Pereira?
an island. Oh yeah, big.
Nice.
But not tracked.
Do you think you'll back him in the rematch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the odds, though, obviously. Depending on the odds, because I rewatched that fight too. There was 2 fights that I rewatched yesterday. It was Yuri Glover and then the Adesanya Pereira. If Adesanya didn't get the late wobble in the first round, it would have been 2-2 going into that 5th. Because I think Pereira took round 1. Round 4 was very close, but I'll score it for Izzy.
Their odds are out, by the way.
What is it?
It's minus 150 Izzy, plus 130 Alex, which kind of makes sense to me.
Given that I took Alex at plus 150 and then rebought at plus 180, I'll probably be taking Alex again.
Oh, it's plus 180 on BetMGM.
Give me that.
There you go.
Give me that.
But all right.
Yeah, maybe if when I go to Vegas this weekend, I'll probably get the early number in if I can.
Are you gonna go to the fights?
No, I'm going to. Man, actually, no. My brother doesn't watch this show. He doesn't watch my shows. I don't know why, but we're surprising him for his birthday. He's a big Patriots fan, so we're getting him Patriots Raiders tickets. Sick. It's gonna be really cool. And hopefully, I run into some fighters. Who knows?
Good luck. I've only met. How many? I think I've met like 2. I met Court McGee. That was like the first one I ever met. I met him in the airport when I was coming into Austin for the fights. I went to the fights and like I was at the airport and I'm just walking with my girl and like I see some dude with like a UFC backpack and I was thinking like I tapped his shoulder. I was like, yo, you going to the fights? He's like, yeah, my buddy's fighting. I didn't hear that part that my buddy's fighting. So I was like, oh, word, me too. And then he's like, wait, you're on the card? And I was like, nah. Wait, you're with a fighter? And then the guy goes, yo, Court. And then Court McGee just turns around. Comes over.
My God.
I shake his hand. That shit was crazy. But that was my first time meeting a fighter. Who? Court?
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't think he looked that big. Like in person, I feel like they look so different.
I guess.
But all right, guys, that is a card. We just went through the entire UFC Vegas 66. I want to thank everybody in the chat who's watching. We got 22 live viewers in the chat right now. Thank you guys for tuning in and sticking with us just over an hour for the show. Big shout out to Wiz. Thank you for coming on, brother. Why don't you tell the people where to find you?
Thank you again, Mike. It's always a pleasure. It was really fun. I love this show. So it's always fun when I'm on. You can find me at WizBets on Twitter and on YouTube. I host a show or 3 shows. One of them is an NFL show every week with Lou Betcha. I just started a show last week called 1 Minute Breakdowns where I break down each fight in a minute or less, just something easier to digest. And then every Thursday I run Personality Pick where I bring on your favorite UFC personalities, fighters, and MMA Twitter personalities, which, Mike, I need to hit you up about that. And we have a nice little talk, interview, just something more laid back.
All right. Dope. Thank you guys for tuning in and good luck with your bets and have a good one.